these people. I'm not gonna do it.
Cheers.
Relax, sit down. Minutes. We're gonna be done in a half an hour, so everybody's gonna be gone anyway. Right, Helen?
Yes.
Good morning. My name is Christopher Iannella. I will chair the hearing today. I do want to set a few ground rules. It's not going to be popular, but multiple people on this council, have had COVID. People have been vaccinated, have had COVID, and have not felt great. So I'm only going to allow, and the governor's office knows about this, 2 people in the chamber at the same time. So, excuse me. Shut that door. Hey, Paul. So I'm only going to allow 2 people. I would ask if anyone who's going to testify, once you testify, if you could leave the chamber. Other than that, anyone else who is family visitors, and I know it's a difficult situation, but safety is number 1. I mean, people here, like I said, have been vaccinated and have got COVID. So we can only have 2 people. The other folks can wait out here. And as a witness finishes, then another person can come in. But can only, and that can be up to you, who you choose to have in. They can sit right out there, but there's only 2 people in the chamber for witnesses. Thank you.
Is that a?
That's my role.
Oh, okay. That's Chris's role. Okay.
There is a pandemic going on, so
We have a pandemic going on.
there's a bar on the other side. You gotta stand up first.
We're sitting
You
in.
gotta stand up and let it up. Stand up. Now,
Yeah, I'd make your mother one of the 2 people.
Do what you want. And if you want family, it's up to you. You have 2 witnesses. One witness could wait outside so the mother could, and then that way you can have,
Mr. Chairman, who's first?
I don't care. We'll let you go. You want to chair the hearing?
Whatever you want.
Chair it?
And then I
Okay, thank you very much. At this point, I'll introduce the members of the council. To my left, Paul DiPaolo, Terry Kennedy, Eileen Duff, Marilyn Petito Devaney, and Robert Juvenville, Joseph Ferrara, and Mary Hurley. At this point, I'll read a letter addressed to the council. Dear councilors, I'm pleased to nominate Helen J. White to the position of Clerk Magistrate of the Boston Municipal Court, Charlestown Division. Sincerely, Charles Baker. And before we hear from you, I know you have distinguished folks here, and we'll first hear from the Honorable Sidney Hanlon.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman
Excuse me. Yes.
and members of the council. It's an honor and a privilege to be here on behalf of my friend and colleague Helen White. I'm not going to cry. She came to work in Dorchester Court before I did in 1986, and she was there when I got there. And when she was your clerk, you knew it was going to be all right. It's a busy place. I know a number of you have been in that courtroom. And so much of what happens in that court happens behind the scenes. The courtroom is a busy, frantically crazy place, but what happens behind the scene, what happens in the clerk's office, what happens in probation is hugely important. And if Helen was my clerk, I knew it was all right. She commanded complete respect in the courtroom, but she was warm and friendly and to everybody. At the same time, she knew every piece of what was going on. Judge, can we call this case because so-and-so needs to be somewhere? Can we do this? We have to do this because the lockup is full and we need to transport this person. She was on top of every single thing and made life easy, at the same time treating everybody well and commanding respect in the courtroom. It was an extraordinary privilege. In the 2000s, some of you know, we applied for a grant from the Justice Department. I didn't want to do a domestic violence court, but they told me they would give me $7 million. And so I thought, everybody has a price. No, and so we did a demonstration for the people from the Violence Against Women office. And when the first assistant clerk asked me who I wanted to clerk that session, I said, Helen, please. And he said, good choice. And she showed us off and made us look good. And they gave us the money, $8 million of your tax money. Thank you very much. So it was a privilege. I left in, as you all, many of you know, in 2009. The first justice after me was Rosalind Miller. I get a text from her this morning. She's very ill. She doesn't have COVID, but she's got a bad flu. Last night, between coughing, she told me, I'm coming for Helen. And she couldn't come this morning, but I told her I would tell you that if she were here, she would wholeheartedly support Helen's candidacy. Judge James Coffey is here, and he's been at Dorchester Court longer than I was. I remember he came right after 9/11. He's been the first justice since Judge Miller, so about the last 7 years. He said she's absolutely the best, that she was during COVID has really run the court, that sometimes she and Clerk Mr. Owens and the chief probation officer and Judge Coffey were the only people in the building. Helen made it work. He said everything from the sign on the door and tech. She was the person. She'd be engaged to the courtroom because she knew how to get the guy in Walpole on the Zoom so he could have a hearing, so he could be present. And that she was the person who could fix everything. And I think it's a sign of what a good guy he is that he's here to support her. Because if I was still a first justice, I'd find it pretty hard to let her go. But she brings the support. There's probation officers here. There's all of us support Helen wholeheartedly. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions, Councilor Juvaville?
Are you enjoying your retirement?
Oh, well, it's busy, you know, you don't just sit around.
You've never sat around anything.
Right.
As a DA in Norfolk, you were a hustler and mover and always doing something.
People find ways to keep busy. I'm
Yeah.
teaching, doing some work with reentry and some work for Flashner.
Very good. I'm glad you came in for this nomination.
Such an honor. I was so pleased to be asked to come.
Thank you very much. Councilor Divani?
Thank you. Very nice to see you, Judge.
Lovely to see you, Counselor, and thank you again for the 2 votes.
How many years?
Well, I started in 1990, but you were kind to me in 2009, and I get invited once in a while to come see y'all.
Proud for me.
Thank you very much.
Well, retirement's agreeing with you. You look great.
Thank you very much.
Your testimony today means a lot. To have her come for you, really, that's quite an endorsement. You know what is amazing to me? When I think of some of the people who have been approved that shouldn't have, 33 years. 33 years. Who can say they've worked only in a courthouse? No one. So,
And made that courthouse a better place every day.
that's it. Now tell me, what comes to mind when you have seen her in these different positions that you say, wow, she really should be a clerk magistrate?
Oh, well, like I said, it's a real conflict of interest if you're the first justice, because you want her there, and you want her doing things. But I can see, I think she'd be spectacular as a clerk magistrate. I think she has a sense of the whole courthouse. It's 3 parts of government, you know, you got your judges, well, the judges are a separate part, but court officers, clerks and all the people get that paperwork done, get people going to, different institutions. They come in from about 6 different places and go back out to different places. All that paperwork that needs to be done, and then probation. And she works with everybody loves her and supports her. And I think that ability to work with all the different parts, if somebody was just looking out for the clerk's office and fighting that battle, that would be one thing, but she's never been that person.
I'm just as excited as you are because, I keep saying that to the JNC that there's age discrimination. And we need someone with age discrimination to bring their life experience and qualifications and experience. I mean, some of the ones that have come through, and I'm the only thing that folks know, it really is egregious. I mean, we had a deputy of the governor going to the Cambridge court, has never been in a courthouse. I asked her at her hearing, have you ever, she's never been. She worked for her brother-in-law at his in his office. So this is the thing that bothers me. This is not political. She's Brendan. And I usually don't talk before I vote, but this is what the JNC should be looking for. We don't want someone there 30 years. We want someone that's worked in the courthouse. I've been here 21 years, and I have never seen anyone come before me that has worked in every position in the courthouse. I mean, judges can go to her, I want to call her Jackie, that they can go to her and ask her about this, about that. What's the, what's the custom here? What happens? Who?
Absolutely.
But for you to come, it's so good to see you, really.
It's really an honor for me and a pleasure to see you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good to see you.
Thank you very much.
We'll hear from Clerk Magistrate Anthony Owens.
Mr. Chair. Oh, it was on mute.
See you again.
You're the man that knows the law better than anybody.
I've been instructed 2 minutes.
All right, that's good.
You cut it in half?
No, sir. I am-
Stand or sit, whatever's in.
I'd like to ask for 2 additional minutes, if you don't mind.
Be one.
Beside
Be one.
You get 5.
Thank you.
I am not as eloquent as Judge Hanlon, so please allow me to read into the record some notes. Honorable Counsel, thank you for allowing me the time to speak in support of my colleague and friend, Helen White. As I begin, I'd like to acknowledge that I sit here as proxy for many people in this room or out in the hallway, and many others who were unable to attend, who love and support Ms. White through this process. Please know, as a supporter, I'm biased. However, I can assure you, under oath if necessary, Ms. White is eminently qualified to fulfill all the duties and responsibilities of a clerk magistrate in almost any court in this great Commonwealth. I've known Ms. White for well over 30 years, and I've been her supervisor for 16 of those. It's true, as you've received letters and statements, Helen is hardworking, extremely smart, competent, and professional. Daily, I've seen her complete tasks, as Judge Hanlon mentioned, but in completing them, she also works to master them. Her breadth of experience, because she's come through the office from a case specialist to the position she holds today as an assistant clerk. It allows her a unique ability to literally process a case from its initiation to its final disposition. Fellow clerks, support staff, court officers, probation officers, defense attorneys, DAs and judges often seek Helen to answer questions they might have about paperwork, content, or process. When I've been fortunate enough to appoint new assistant clerk magistrates, Helen has been that go-to person. She's a mentor and primary trainer. So as Dorchester builds for the future, I know each of the new ACMs and our staff is well positioned, because many of us, myself included, learned the Helen White way. Working in Boston Municipal Court, Dorchester Division, under the Honorable James Coffey and Associate Justices Tynes, Kaplanis, and Grant, we recognize that the work we do is a full-service community court type of work. Ms. White has had an opportunity to manage a wide variety of case types and events. Ms. White can move swiftly and smoothly in the courtroom, taking care of the business that happens in the courtroom. She can render decisions on civil matters, but also assist struggling families as they navigate their way through issues of domestic violence or substance abuse. Reality is, Helen can do it all. Sorry, Helen does it all. Okay? So counselors, I'm certain through this process and through your due diligence, you're aware of Ms. White's technical skills and knowledge. Please allow me another moment to highlight her soft skills, those that you don't see in a resume, those that you don't see in an application. Helen has a strong ability to communicate effectively. She understands the importance of a commitment to task. She listens. She seeks solutions. She's patient. She's thoughtful and compassionate. All things that any good clerk, all of us need each and every day for the communities that we serve. She understands that our job is to the public. So some might call these good customer service. They are. But the reality of it is, to my right is a person who understands all of those things, all of this business at her core. She's a wonderful person, supported by a wonderful family. I will hate to lose her, but I will tell you that she's most deserving and most capable. So I support her without reservation. Hope that this esteemed council will do the same.
Thank you very much. Councilor Jubenville?
Mr. Clerk, thank you for coming in and saying those kind of words about her. I appreciate that. You're a wonderful court. You do a great job as a clerk. She's
Because of her.
got your skills, I'm sure, because you taught her. But if she's half the clerk you are, she'll be a tremendous clerk.
More than I am. So thank you.
Councilor Devaney?
I have to say that the two witnesses today who have spoken have spoken from their heart. It's not just on a professional level. And I have said it many times. I don't vote for anyone who doesn't have compassion, and he said that word, compassion. And that means a lot to me, to be able to listen and to know someone's problems and to work on those problems. So given all that you know about her, what do you think the greatest attribute she brings to this position?
She's probably one of the hardest working people I know. And I will tell you, we've all gone through COVID. You heard Judge Helen mention that there were days where in the building were Judge Coffey, our first justice, myself, and Frank Barbour, the chief court officer, and Brad McNichols, the chief probation officer, and Miss White. Miss White, understand, is an assistant clerk magistrate. She could have, like many of the other employees, said, you know what, I'm nervous, I'm fearful about COVID, I work from home. She was the first and maybe the only who stepped up and said, Mr. Owens, I know we've got work to do. I'm here. I want to do this work. So what she said was, I have a commitment to court, the community, department. So her greatest attribute to me, could probably throw 100 on that table, is her hard work and her work ethic, unmatched.
Well, and I want to thank you for your service and for reaching out to me, and it was a proud vote, and thank you for all you're doing out there. I can't think of a more difficult time for you to oversee a court during pandemic, and I think it just shows this nominee's commitment to come into the courthouse, because I've talked with many judges and people working in the court, and 99.9% of them are working at home. And rightfully so, it's a difficult time. But you coming today is very special to me, and I'm so glad. And I hope that you'll be able to, if your district council allow you to stay for the rest of the hearing to hear the rest of the proceedings.
There would be no other place that I'll be in the hallway.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Mr. Vink.
Thank you.
Mr. Mr. Clerk Magistrate, pleasure to see you today. I don't know if I've ever been, maybe years ago, in the Dorchester District Court. But you run a great court. I want you to know that. People who've appeared before, you say that you're fair, you're compassionate. And again, it was good to see you here today and speaking on behalf of the nominee.
Thank you, Mr. Iannella.
Counselor Kennedy.
I want to reiterate that. You run a fantastic court. It's probably one of the busiest courts in the Commonwealth, and it runs very, very smoothly because of your office. That said, I think you're going to be running out of people. You're spending more time up here than you are at the courthouse.
I think that Dorchester is one of those special courts, unique courts that covers a gamut. And it's a great proving ground. We have Paul Fulham, who you nominated as the Clerk Magistrate in Hingham, and Bill Farrell and Asha White, who are both new judges.
That's what I'm saying. How many assistant clerks are you down right now?
We're down 3, I believe, so if there's any who can speak to, fantastic, I understand.
Short-handed, we can delay things for a while.
Mr. Iannella said it's been a while since he's been in the building, we may get him over us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Best of luck to you, Ms. White.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
At this point, we'll hear from the nominee.
I'll be at home.
I know you may have some family or friends in the other room. If you want to at least introduce them, and you can bring someone else in if you want to sit down. Someone else can sit down. I know and if you want to introduce people, that's up to you.
My mom present, Janet White,
Good to see you.
Kyle White. You want to just come in so I can just introduce you quickly? This is my brother Jabbar White.
Excuse me.
Sorry. This is Keith and Harry, this is a friend of mine.
Good to see you.
Excuse me. Pam Pierce.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Sorry for.
Good morning, everybody.
Good to see you.
Good to everybody.
Toya Taylor.
Good to see you.
And my witness is Judge Helen and Clerk Magistrate Anthony Owens.
Thank you very much. And now we'll hear from you. If you can give us a presentation as to your work background and why you think you should be a clerk of the Charlestown District Court.
Thank you. Good morning, councilors. My name is Helen White, and I'm grateful and honored for this prestigious nomination. I would like to thank Governor Baker and Lieutenant Governor Polito for their confidence in nominating me, Clerk Magistrate, to the Charlestown Division of the Boston Municipal Court. Thank you to Chief Legal Counsel Bob Ross, JNC Executive Director Lauren Green Pegrino, Deputy Director Emily Gauthier, Administrative Secretary Valerie McCarthy for their guidance through this process. Thank you to each and every member of the council for taking time and interest to consider me for the nomination. Thank you to my district counselor, Counselor Iannella, for chairing my hearing. Thank you to the members of the JNC and the Joint Bar for forwarding my name to the governor's office. Thank you to my mother, to my brother Jabbar, and my son Kyle for being here. Thank you to my grandchildren who inspire me with their unconditional love to enjoy life and to do better and be better every day. Thank you to my witnesses, the Honorable Sidney Helen, who I worked with for years in the domestic violence section of the Dorchester Division. An extra special thanks to my boss, Clerk Magistrate Anthony Owens, who I learned so much from. I appreciate you, your guidance, your knowledge, your confidence, and trust in me. Thank you to my colleagues, whom I enjoy working alongside. Thank you to the presiding justice, Judge James W. Coffey, and all of the judges that I have learned so much from and who do a great job each and every day. Thank you to my close friends. Thank you to Sergeant Detective Cullinane for all your support. I want to thank the entire Dorchester Court family, including the defense counselors and the district attorney's office. Thank you to the late Clerk Magistrate Richard Dwyer, and to one of my biggest supporters, the late Chief Probation Officer Deidre Kennedy. Before I go any, excuse me. Before I go any further, I would like to thank my sister, who has been by my side at every milestone in my life and could not be here because she's having chemotherapy treatment for breast cancer. Please know that I love you. Family is everything to me, and I would not be here if it wasn't for my mother and my late father. To know me is to know about them. So if I may, my mother is one of 5 children. She grew up in the Roxbury, Dorchester area and attended Brighton High School. After high school, she became a very talented hairstylist until changing her profession to work as an electronic assembler at Raytheon until she retired in 2014. Throughout her many years of work, my mom has been a model of hard work and commitment to me and my siblings. My mom raised me, my sister, and 2 brothers with love while fostering family values. She taught us to be kind, caring, honest, passionate, and respectful to others. I'm so grateful to my mother for raising me with those values, characteristics of a clerk magistrate. My late dad, he grew up in Dorchester. He attended Charlestown High School. While at Charlestown High School, my dad was an outstanding basketball player. Would have been so proud to know that his daughter had become a basketball player and a nominee for a clerk magistrate position. My dad had retired as a nurse's aide. He worked at the Shattuck Hospital for over 30 years, taking care of patients with mental health issues. After retirement, my dad would keep in shape by taking walks. I just remember my dad being so proud that I had taken a position at Dorchester Court. While out for his walks, he would come and visit me at Dorchester Court, just a sign of how proud he was of me. I wish he could have been here today. I mentioned my mom and dad because I'm so proud of them too. They taught me to appreciate things, and I have, and for that I do. I not only appreciate what I have, I love what I have. I love what I do. I love working for the trial court. I have so much passion for the work that I do. I'm grateful for each and every position that I've held within the trial court. And more importantly, I do it to serve the people of the Commonwealth. The role of a clerk magistrate is to oversee the fundamental processes of the clerk magistrate's office. A clerk magistrate is one in which you are entrusted with the task to ensure that the day-to-day activities of court are carried out, and so that the court is able to function in the most effective and efficient manner. A clerk magistrate position will allow me to continue my commitment to service and to carry out all the important work within the office that impacts the community. Should a need arise, I am able to fulfill my administrative or any magisterial role. The important responsibilities that I have attained as an assistant clerk, from determining probable cause to conducting show cause hearings, the small claims hearing, from working the arraignment session to impaneling jurors in the trial session, coupled with my years of experience, allowed me to develop the skills and depth of knowledge that would allow me to prepare and to successfully carry out the duties of a clerk magistrate. One of my major achievements as an assistant clerk is that I was nominated by Chief Justice Ron Keel, selected to a leadership program called the Judicial Administrative 2 program. During this interview, I was asked, where do I see myself in 5 years? And it was during this interview that I answered, I see myself becoming a clerk magistrate. So I ask for your support to affirm my answer and nomination to becoming a clerk magistrate to represent and serve our Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Thank you, counsel, for your time and attention again, and I welcome any questions that you may have for me.
Thank you very much. We'll hear from Councilor Joseph Ferrera.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It was nice speaking with you. I really enjoyed our conversation. I have got countless phone calls several from court liaison officers from different police departments, which is important to me because as I went through the ranks to become a police chief, I was a court liaison officer, and I appreciate good clerks when I dealt with one. And you just have an outstanding resume, outstanding experience. Chris Iannella, the chairman, is a huge fan of yours. He put the arm on me early on. And the fact that Clerk Owens is there speaks immeasurable as well. The last time, or one of the times he came in, was for Roger Oliveira, who's doing a great job at the juvenile court in Fall River. So you certainly have my support, and thank you for your incredible service to the
Councilor.
Commonwealth.
Thank you very much, Councilor Ferrara. Next, we'll hear from Councilor Mary Hurley.
Once upon a time, I went to the Dorchester court for a week when I first got on the bench in 1995. You were there, but I didn't have the chance to meet you. But everything that Judge Hanlon said about that court is true. It was a zoo. And for you to come in there and start at the bottom and work your way up to the top, that's the American dream. And in reading your application, I was so impressed with all the things that you did. I really don't have any questions. Got a lot of calls about you. Counselor Kennedy and Counselor Iannella both rave about you. And I think you're going to do just a great job. So you have my support, and I look forward to voting for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor Hurley. Next, we'll hear from Councilor Paul DiPaolo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. We had a chance to talk yesterday about your nomination, and we certainly heard this morning the highest accolades possible for you. As far as the clerk magistrate position goes, the management of the court, there's no doubt from the testimony today and folks I spoke with before, how well you're going to manage that, how proactive you've been and you intend to be about adding efficiency to the court, whether it's through technology or other means. And we also had a chance to talk about something that's important to me, which is the point of the show cause hearings and the point of charges and how that is one of the starting points in the racial disparities in sentencing that we see. So we know that when there's concurrent jurisdiction on a charge, that Black and brown people in Massachusetts are twice as likely to be referred to Superior Court, where of course they're exposed to potentially higher sentences. And we also had a chance to talk about show cause hearings and treating every case anew and not deferring to the Commonwealth or anyone else who may prejudge your position. Could you share an example? We talked about, for example, an intent to distribute charge. Could you talk about just an example of where you've exercised that discretion?
Yes, so yesterday we spoke about an intent to distribute charge. Usually what happens is an officer comes in and he brings in an application for complaint along with the police report. Just because somebody's charged with an intent to distribute doesn't mean that it necessarily gets in. The facts have to be contained in the police report. There have to be facts such as the weight of the drugs, and if there was an actual distribution, not because they want to charge distribution, they have to have facts in there that they have seen a distribution, the drugs being distributed to someone. And so we talked about that, and then we talked about when the complaint comes before me, and if I do not have it in the police report, I don't have it. It's not enough for me to issue it, and I won't issue it. And so that's what we discussed.
Yeah. So I don't want to belabor things, but I think the Commonwealth's going to benefit from you potentially serving as a clerk magistrate, and I look forward to supporting you next week.
Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you very much. Councilor Terrence Kennedy.
I've had the opportunity to do clerk's hearings in front of you, and I can assure my colleagues that you are very, very fair in the way the way you handle it. I'm just gonna. I think you're a home run. There's no question about it. You already know that I feel that way. I haven't hidden that. I just want to mention some people that called me. If I can remember them all, I can't. Judge Desmond called me, Kenny Desmond, of the appeals court. My classmate Julie Bernard, Judge Julie Bernard called me. And I received a text message from Judge Kaplanis this morning. And his comments, second. Hope you are well. There are not enough text capability for me to convey how deserving Helen White is for the BMC clerkship. I know you know this, and I do, okay? And I've gotten other calls as well. I'm not going to go through them all. You're a home run, and I'm absolutely positively voting for you, and I'm really, really pleased you're going over to Charlestown.
Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you very much, Councilor Kennedy. Next, we'll hear from Councilor Eileen Duff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, you have a lot of fans out there, which means you're doing something right. But to your mom and your late dad, to you, the home training that this young woman and the whole path of mentorship and leadership has really helped form her, and I'm sure your other children as well, into wonderful citizens and people. So thank you for that. I also, just a couple of things I've noticed which stand out to me and probably don't mean a lot to some other people, but one, I appreciate the fact that you were an athlete and that you continue to be involved in coaching and refereeing and things like that. I think it says a lot about your mindset and in fair play, in team play. And those are things that I think people could use a little bit more of as a former athlete myself. I think it's something that benefits folks. You also went to Cambridge College, which I think is one of the greatest schools around here for adult education, you know, for people who go back to work or trying to improve themselves and learn more. Their programs are exemplary. So good for you for doing that, because frankly, with all your other degrees, you didn't really need to do that. But I think it says a lot about, you know, your drive to learn. And that's what Cambridge College, I think, offers a lot of folks, is an opportunity. And it's not just, you know, the book, it's what's in the room with you. So the biggest thing that you bring, besides your wealth of experience, which is just tremendous, and as the other counselors have said, I mean, Counselor Iannella is a super fan, and you've got so many folks out there, you know, people that I feel, I'm not an attorney, so they don't all come at me, but they're coming at me for you. I mean, these people love you. But you have, Assistant Clerk, is the ability to be a critical thinker, and you just displayed that in how you explained, how you review evidence and then move on it. That is something I think is gravely missing today. People, the knee-jerk reactions that all of us, myself included, have towards things. Oh, it must be this, if the police said this, or the victim said this, or the perpetrator said this. You know, it's very hard to sort through that and be that scale of justice. And besides everything that people have called and written to me about, and looking at your application and your, that answer alone to me was quite tremendous. Because I don't think people really, we try to. I think most people try to do their very, very best, but you are truly gifted. And it's a gift that honed into, you know, you're one of the people in the world that maybe just found the right thing to do and you ran with it. So thank you very much. Thank you for applying. I think you would be into your mom, and your late dad and your son and your brother and sisters. You would be a great success probably in anything you did in this world. And so I personally, as a citizen of this Commonwealth, and as somebody who cares deeply about the court system and who is not an attorney, my experience with the courts is different. Although my sister did practice in BMC a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Duff.
For applying. We need folks like you, people that when someone walks in that courtroom, and particularly into a magistrate hearing, it is the most important day of their life, and they want to know they're heard. They want to win, but even more than they win, they want to be heard and they want to be seen. And it seems to me that you have just the great confluence of those skills to make that happen and be really Lady Justice, no pun intended, but really of what we are striving for. So, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll hear from Councilor Robert Jubenville.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have no doubt that you're going to be confirmed. So someday, I don't know when, I hope you retire. When you do retire, you'll probably have some event on your behalf. I'm alive, I'm going to attend that. And what happens is with people we confirm, a lot of times they go at their retirement parties and they thank the governor and the lieutenant governor and the senator and everybody else in the building, but they forget the governor's council who actually gives you this job. The governor has a lot of power, but he doesn't have the power to give you this job. We do. So I'm going to ask you to remember that when you make your speech at that, just thank the governor's council, okay?
I will. Thank you.
You come with so much support, very deep support. There's just so many people that have called me, like everybody else. But I met your mother today, who's a wonderful woman, and was responsible for you probably sitting in that chair by the way she raised you. One thing that concerned me when you were at my office and you and my daughter hugged each other for about 20 minutes and did whatever you were talking about, I said, now I'm in a position where I really can't say no because my daughter will be very upset with me. In fact, she texted me this morning about making sure I did the right thing here. So when women tell me things, I usually follow their advice. So it'll be a pleasure for me to vote for you next week. You'll make a great clerk and make the people of Charlestown proud of you, I'm sure.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll hear from Councilor Marilyn Petito Devaney.
Last should be first. I can tell you what a pleasure it was to meet you and to meet you at the diner. And not only the time went by, we didn't even know it. We were there 15 minutes after the diner closed. And they were cleaning up. So anyway, I'm just so impressed. And you are exactly what I have been talking over and over again about wanting someone with the age, with life experience, with the qualifications. And we're not getting that. We sent someone to the Cambridge court that never was in the house. And so, so everybody's helping her. She was the deputy attorney here at the State House, so anyway, wasn't even posted. So I'll say it, you did it in the right line. Some political person did jump the line and take it, and I can't be more grateful for that. And if the JNC doesn't get the message that we should stop the age discrimination, because life experience means everything. And not only that, but other things that you have, and I hope you'll continue. And, this shows me your interest in your community and children and everything else. And talked a lot. Why I meet with everyone, because it's very important to me to know the whole person, not on paper, but I want to know about your parents and everything and what age of the person you are. And you come from caring parents and the apples and all. And you know what I think is great? You're going to a courthouse with the animals. So I'm pleased with that. But I'll tell you, in 21 years, I have never had anyone before me that served 33 years in a courthouse. Before, when you were still in school, you were at there. So that's complete knowledge of the court system. And judges, probation officers, everyone goes to you. And for history. And so, having said that, I just want to give you the opportunity, because it is so extraordinary that you have gone through every position in the courthouse. So I want to go back and when you first started in that first position, because I think what I want you to be able to tell the public, what you do as a clerk magistrate, the judge doesn't do. Okay, these are the different responsibilities. So having said that, let's start with your first position, and you can, go into the responsibilities. I mean, even just starting out then, 1993, I mean, you were training for jury trials. So tell me all about the other things that you did, and just in that position, then we'll go through all of them.
So respectfully, I started in the fire room, and from the fire room, I worked my way up to an assistant clerk magistrate. I had the desire to learn everything that was going on in the clerk's office, and I feel like I accomplished that. Definitely, my job is very different from a judge. A judge sits, as the finder of fact on a jury trial. They render guilty findings, which is something I can't do. And they commit people to the house of correction. That's something I cannot do. And they sit on the bench every day, listening to people every day, and making hard decisions that are different from an assistant clerk. And so, I mean, I've enjoyed my journey throughout the office.
So then you moved up to a sessions clerk.
Yes.
I mean, you supervise employees and stuff. I want to talk for you. So tell us about that
So
position.
as a session clerk, I would go into the arraignment session, the pretrial session, the jury trial session. I would call the list of the day. I would the dispositions after, just reiterate the decisions after the judge has made a disposition. I would administer the oaths in the courtroom. I would index the journals, the tapes, the proceedings. I supervised several employees in the office. And so that was my duty as.
So now, operational supervisor, and again, part of it is training, and that says a lot. Someone in a position is training people in the courthouse. So you're training the staff on the procedures and you're troubleshooting for all this going on. Okay, I'm gonna stop. I want to hear you.
Operational supervisor, I supervise the entire criminal pool. It's about approximately 15 to 20 employees. I also worked in the courtroom. Again, my duties had increased because at the time I was an operations supervisor. I would attend to the court users at the counter. And I would train employees on, we had the warrant management system then, and then we were switched over to the mass court system. So I trained the employees on that. My duties as a operations supervisor, probably type an arrest, summonses, warrants. Those are my duties as an operations supervisor.
Okay, so then assistant clerk magistrate. Now, your responsibilities and your authority has increased. So tell us the difference.
So as an assistant clerk magistrate, I determine probable cause on search warrants, arrest warrants, summonses, show cause hearings, as well as I preside over small claims hearings, still managing the office. I do mental health hearings. So there's nothing shorter in that office that I don't do. I still help out the clerical pool because those are my coworkers as well as my my colleagues.
Okay, so you work in the clerk magistrate's office. So so what you have worked with so many judges that I have such respect for, and they all have said wonderful things about you, and your district counselor has a letter or two up that he will read. But I just, it's just so impressive because for me to sit here and think of people who are in the court that shouldn't be there, and I want to ask you, and don't get me wrong, I have voted for good people, but someone who's no experience at all is wrong, political, that's not what I vote on. But I just want to know, when you look at the court and you've learned a lot in these 33 years. Do you see anything that you would like to see improved or do better, that you observed in your 33 years?
I don't think anything is perfect in what we do or in life. We can always do better. I just try to do my best to do my job, to help others and the people that come into court. Hopefully, I'm doing my best. That will transcend to my colleagues.
Well, I have talked to people who have seen you and know you and have said that you reach out to people. That's very important because you are the face of the court. And oh my God, about 30 years ago, I had my experience going before a clerk magistrate. It was the worst. He was a Dims and Doles, I'm sorry. He was a political appointee. And it was so insulting to me. And I thought, wow, this is the most important person. You don't get to the judge. You don't get to the judge. And I didn't, okay? And I won't even go into it, but it was the worst experience I could ever have. And I don't want anyone to go before someone like that. And you are so far removed from that type of a person. But, I was very interested to know that, what your philosophy was. And I wanted to, if I could find it, yeah. And I wanted to know how you characterize your own views on this position. And this is what you wrote for the Governor's Council. My view in exercising discretion is that one should be guided by statute and case law. One should take into account the parties involved, the nature and circumstances around the case, and any mitigating factors. While considering these factors, the goal is to serve the interests of justice, love that word, justice, and to protect and serve the community as a whole. It couldn't have been said any better than that. And, that really is so impressive because that tells you that who's someone that has seen it all. I've seen some people that really are at the lowest point of their lives and you reach out, and that's justice. So I wanted to put that in the record. I think that is remarkable. So, there's nothing usually you ask, okay, what's the current learning that you don't have any. You don't have any, learning process. You've been there, you know it. And, I just couldn't be happier to, I don't usually say all these things, but I'll tell you, when I see someone with no experience, based on political, no public posting, sitting in the Cambridge court, I'm angry. I'm really angry because you know why? People out there think I have so much authority as a governor's council. I have none. I don't know who applies. I don't know who's rejected. Sometimes I find out people trust me and they know I never expose a name and they tell me someone, like in a court, someone working 14 years in the clerk magistrate's position. And she was an assistant. Before that, she was associate, and now she's the acting, and the clerk magistrate left. People call me, and I even got a call from Florida. My late cousin, Bobby Simone, his widow from Florida called me. I had no idea, I even knew this person was coming up. Was rejected, and she told me she was a probation officer, retired, and she worked with her, and she was wonderful. Everyone was kind. She helped everybody in the courthouse. She was so compassionate when people came before her. And guess what? When she applied, she saw the posting. She got a letter. You are not getting an interview. You tell me how I can sit here and say, gee, everything is great up here. It isn't. And when someone like you comes through, you are a role model. And I just hope people out there will not give up. We had someone last month that was rejected 6 times for a judge. 30 years in solo practice, every kind of case, murders, child abuse, and she has done things. She's established programs for children of abuse, all of these things. But it took 6 times. There's attorneys out there that don't. When they see who's applied, who gets the job, and they didn't, they said, forget it. Okay, so thank you. Now, was this your first time applying? I didn't even ask you that.
Yes, Council.
It was. Good of you. So, I don't mean to go on, but make speeches, but I'll tell you, I can't be happier. And if this JNC doesn't get the message, they should be removed. This council voted, I didn't, for a 40-year-old a couple months ago. Judgeship. And he had 2 jobs coming out of law school. One, he was one of 13 assistant solicitors in a city hall, whoopee. And he worked for the sheriff. And we put him in. It's a real criminal court, Worcester. And he never saw a criminal case in his life. So this is what I see. And I see these attorneys out that have tried and applied, and they won't apply anymore. Some of them get an interview and they're rejected. So I'm saying this not for you, but people, whoever in the Zoom land, you should be calling the governor and call up this JNC because they're not doing their job and they're very age discriminatory. 40-year-old with 2 jobs that are insignificant to go to be a judge. And your resume, your experience far exceeds that 40-year-old. So I just wanted people to know, when I vote no, it's a yes for the public. Because I'm for justice, just like you. And I want the best on that bench, not someone that worked in this administration or next door or neighbor or coach of a kid. You earned it the old-fashioned way. You're qualified, you're experienced. I got the age, and I love your mother. So I'm going to be very proud to vote for you next Wednesday. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Counselor. First of all, I just want to reiterate what I said in the beginning. I notified the governor's office before today that there'd be a limited, when I conduct a hearing, there'd be a limited number of guests and family allowed in this room. It's an extremely small room. And you have a lot of people. I'm sure they're maybe a little disappointed in me, and I would understand that. But if I let everybody in, there'd be about a foot apart. 30 people. I mean, you got elderly people. 30 people in this small room, a foot apart. That's not acceptable to me. To me, safety is important. I mean, you hear stories all the time. Colin Powell, vaccinated. Multiple, I'll reiterate, multiple people on this council, 8-member council, have had COVID. Some have felt really, really bad. So I don't regret my decision. I understand how people may be disappointed, but when I chair any hearings, I have to have limited amount of people. Having said that, I had such a wonderful conversation with you, excuse me, early in the week. What a superstar. Have a superstar of a daughter. You really, really do. She came across to me as being humble, compassionate. What a wonderful temperament she has. I can go on and on. She is a superstar. She's going to be a great addition to the Charlestown District Court as a clerk magistrate. Oh, wow, was I impressed with you when you came in. And I really mean that. What about the fact that you've gone through the system? Courtroom procedures clerk. When? 1994, 1993, I should say. Sessions clerk, operations supervisor, assistant clerk magistrate. Come on, that's over 20 years. She's worked her way up. Nobody deserves this job more than you. And I'm going to tell you, you're going to do a great job. I'm so happy your mother's in the room here, your brother's in the room. And when your name becomes before the council next week, I'm going to be proud and honored to nominate you next week and put your name before the council. And thank you so, so much. That will conclude, before I conclude the hearing, I know there's a lot of people outside, but I did forget to do this. Is there anyone in opposition to the nomination of Helen White? That's part of the protocol. There being no one in opposition, that will conclude the hearing. And again, thank you for coming in and all your family and guests. Thank you.